Out Town. I'm your host, Lorenzo Martin. Join me and welcome our special guest, Pastor Rashawn Bey and Dr. Stacy Fairley.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Would you give us some information about what do y'all do? Impact Development Community Center.
Yes, I'm Pastor Rashawn Bey, and we have Impact Community Development Center. And what we do is we step outside the walls and get to the streets and get to the level of the community, finding out the issues, visiting the homes of the people, and trying to inspire them to change from what they're stuck in their past, what they're going through presently, and impacting them to better and see what they have in their future.
That's great. That's real good. Now, where are y'all located exactly?
We're located in Gulfport, Mississippi. We cover the Gulf Coast, Mississippi area and, about 50-mile radius surrounding areas.
Okay, great. Based upon your experience, our kids are sort of changing.
Yes, sir.
It's not the same what it used to be.
Yes.
What difference are you all seeing in our youth at this time?
Well, the difference I see is there's a difference in our youth from 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago.
Right.
And us as a generation that is before them tends to look upon the kids and say it's a shame what they're doing. But what it is, it starts from the teaching of the parents that is getting into the households. And the kids have a development stage that has been forgotten and has been changed. See, the youth isn't changing. It's the method and the teaching that is changing, and that's what is affecting the community today.
Yes, I agree. With 3 kids of my own.
Yes, sir.
One question I'd love to ask you, how do we get to the point where the kids are being knowledgeable, being lost, what we call lost,
Yes.
needing to be found and some information to gather to change their ways?
Well, everything starts in the home. Everything starts where they're at every day, their nest. And sometimes the parents are lost and they don't recognize that they're lost. So the kids are just feeding off the parents. So if the parents can take accountability and understand that they need to lead by example, now they can get the respect of the children to be able to be taught to receive the teaching of understanding that there is a better way. There is a better understanding. There is a better life. And it's more to it than just trying to get over and do things the quick way. Because I've always been taught, even when I was out there in the world, quick money spends fast, and it just takes these principles and put it into the homes, and I think it'll change things.
Yeah. Me personally, understanding what government plays a role in
Yes.
our youth and society. As a matter of fact, we just talked about maybe possibly building more jails.
Yes.
And we just talked about the parent role. What
Yes,
would be more of the church role in our process of our youth?
Stacy?
Well, the church has lost its authority, in my opinion. We've taken God out of the school system. God is out of the house. When I was growing up, we were taught to go to church every time church met. And if there was a revival going on somewhere else, we were going to church somewhere else during that week. So it was sometimes 5, 7 times out the week. But now there's a dilution of those morals and values, where if the child doesn't want to get up in the morning, then they don't have to go to church. The parent will still go to church, but they'll leave the child there. And the government has created these laws to where people are suing the church. And so the church don't want to take the accountability or the liability sometimes. When you catch the Holy Spirit and you fall and you sue the church because you've hurt yourself. So that authority has been taken away and it needs to be reinstituted back to the church. People need to put God first.
Great.
And understand the importance of that. And it needs to start in the house, in the school system, and it'll trickle to everywhere else.
Right. So, Pastor, what are some of the steps that we can begin to take to save our youth?
Well, the first step is there has to be a father, an example, because we have a father, a heavenly father. Mm-hmm. And that relationship is the greatest example on nurturing love, because the Bible says, if you don't love me, you don't know how to love. Mm-hmm. So with that relationship as a father in the house, and even the ones that are not in the house, there has to be some kind of figure of an example of a leader that is God-fearing and being able to give the love and the leadership into the house.
That's great. That's great. What do you think, Dr. Stacy Fairley, about technology? I know me and my wife just had a long discussion about the internet and the cell phones. What role do they play in our youth and their direction?
Well, the kids today have the accessibility to technology, and it can be a good thing, and it has been a bad thing. Right now, what we have to do is monitor what our kids watch, the access that they have to certain websites and things. But technology can advance the kingdom in advertising. And seeing these kids, we have to capture them the way that we can. And that's through technology, through the social media. But in essence, it can hurt the children. So I think as parents, we have to watch what how they're utilizing the technology. That's the first and foremost thing. And then two, we have to limit. The technology has, in essence, cut off kids from having social skills. They don't know how to have a conversation. They don't know how to navigate a healthy relationship because they're too busy texting. And texting it cannot replace talking to someone face to face.
Right.
And so that's what we do at Impact. We try to build those healthy relationships, show them how to navigate and build a healthy relationship. And the only way you can do that is face-to-face contact, not through text message.
Right. Pastor Bey, could you kind of expound and kind of tell us how Impact Community Development is helping in that area especially? I think that's one of the biggest ones that we're challenging right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, technology has definitely helped us reach several homes, several places. But anything in life that has a bad motive and a bad intention can definitely be dangerous. Mm-hmm. But if we can inspire people and find out what we can unlock in the child, unlock in the community, find out what good they have in them, then they'll learn how to replace the bad with the good. Mm-hmm. Anything with an addiction, anything that you're trying to get rid of, it's more easy said than done to just tell somebody to get rid of it. But when you find something good that you're motivated that you can replace, whether it's a relationship, in order for you to get over your old spouse, it took you to really find that new spouse, to really say, okay, this is the one for me. Okay, right. Old things have passed away. Great. Behold, all things are new. Right. You know, so I think if we can sit down with the kids like I do, I sit down with this young man, Genesis, who was kicked out of alternative school, kicked out of this school, kicked out of the Camp Shelby. Doesn't have a father. The mother had a hard time reaching him and talking to him. And when I sat down with him, the first thing I said to him was not what you're doing wrong, because everybody knows what they're doing wrong. Mm-hmm. But I found out what he's doing right that he overlooked, because he's so used to people telling him that you're not doing right, you're not doing right, you're not doing right. Because if you speak it over someone's life, it becomes a reality. Yes. So I started finding things about him that he didn't even know he knew how to do. I found out things that was great, and I embraced him. And the more I embraced him with love, he already became convicted, because it was the opposite of results, you know. So once I found out what he loved to do, I motivated him to do what he loved. Right. And that made him say, I don't want to smoke weed no more. I don't want to be disrespectful no more. I want to get back to school, because in order to bring out my vision and bring out the business mind that I have, the drugs won't go along with it. It'll destroy what I really want to do. Mm-hmm. And when I gave him something that he really wanted to do, it automatically changed his perception of wanting to do what was holding him back. And that's what we do.
That's great.
We help them identify the best version of themselves.
Right.
Bring out the best of them.
So my next question is then, in a perfect world, what would be the greatest challenge that you would like to be able to overcome as an organization to be able to help more youth?
To open the minds of the parents, to not be embarrassed, to not be prideful, and understand if you need help, ask for it. Be willing to let the right people come into your house and not convert them over to the military system, to the prison system, to taking them to juvenile hall, to doing all these different things that the world and the government says do statistically. Put them on this medication, over-medicate them. Get the right leaders and the people that have the impact on your children come in and say, I need help, and let's get these kids the help they need.
Right. Yes. Is it a big difference? I know that it is. and I ask both of you to answer it separate, from our boys and our girls. Of course, I know our young men have challenges, gun violence and crime and things of that nature. And our young ladies have other challenges of succumbing to our young boys in a lot of cases. So
peer pressure.
how do we work those two differences out of the boys and the girls in our community?
Well, you have to attack each one of them individually. What I like to do when I talk to young ladies is the first thing I do is I ask them, what are your goals? What are your plans? And most women or girls today have a vision, but they succumb to the peer pressure. A lot of the children today, they are Christians. They know God. They have a relationship with God. But when they get around their friends, they don't know God. They don't know the right choices to make at that point. As a scientist, we have a term called what is herd immunity. And herd immunity is if you vaccinate enough people, when that illness or that ailment comes into the community, it's less likely to have an effect. And that's what we want to do. We want to reach enough kids that when someone do come around them and say, hey, do you want to do this? You want to try drugs? Or do you want to go here and go there? They are able to have the courage to stand up and say, no, I don't want to do it. It's against my morals and values. It's against my belief system. Right. And that's what we want to do with the kids, whether they're male or female, is to teach them to be proud Christians and to stand up for their morals and values.
That's great. That's great. And one of the things, too, that I know between boys and girls, all of our youth, is their motivation. Having something that motivates them on a day-to-day basis. What would you say would be those ideas or thoughts of successful lives of having motivation?
Finding something exciting that has a positive lead. You know, the Christian life has always had a reputation of being boring. Being older is being boring. If you can demonstrate in a positive way excitement that goes along with the generation today, they'll be more motivated because they can see themselves in that picture. That's why I understand when they say you're in the image and likeness of God, you have to see God in the person. They have to see themselves inside the leader.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Great. Any other final thoughts as we close this segment?
Well, if I had one thing to say to the youth right now, I would tell them to never give up. And to always keep God first.
That is great. Never give up.
Never give up.
Stay motivated.
Yes. Yes,
and we're in this together.
Yes.
This struggle is just not yours.
You're not alone.
It's ours also.
Yes.
And we're going to keep battling the powers that be.
Yes.
We thank y'all for coming. We thank you for giving us a great segment here on Joy in Our Town. Amen. And keep doing the great work that you're doing. And all the information that you need to contact them is also listed on your screen. And if you will, continue to stay tuned and stay with us on Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Lorenzo Martin.
Oh, hey, bud.
Oh.
Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
It's a school night. With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
Not sure about those two. I've been meaning to ask you. This is tougher than I thought. Is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No.
I hope not, because alcohol can lead you to say things and do things that you really wish you hadn't. Isn't this what you're supposed to say?
I know.
So if any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you.
Brian.
Yeah?
So start the conversation even before they're teenagers.
Good idea.
For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Thank you for joining us, Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Lorenzo Martin, and we have distinguished guests, Pastor Rashawn Bey and Dr. Stacy Fairley.
Yes.
Thank y'all for coming. We want to discuss so many things of our seniors and the lack of the support of our seniors in our community. If you could astound and give us some information on that.
Well, a lot of things that's going on with our seniors today is, I always revert back to the past because the things seem like they were better at the beginning and kind of worser as it gets close. But the respect for your elders, for one, has left the community as a whole, not just the body of Christ, but just as a whole. So the things that used to say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, you wouldn't talk a certain way. You would help them open the door. You would do so many different things. It's almost like they're forgotten now. They're almost drifting away as far as the remembrance of them and what they have done and all the legwork that they have put in. All of the teachings that we have come from the traditions that they have had. In Ecclesiastes, it talks about the past will be forgotten, and everything that you're storing up is going to be stored up for somebody else. So the things that we used to remember, the generation now doesn't even know about. You know, what songs was current is old school to somebody else today.
Yeah.
And I think we just have to keep the history going to let people know what the people who was before us, how important they are for what we have today.
Yeah,
Without them, we wouldn't have the things we have today.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
we
I know
stand
a
on
lot
the
of times, in my case, and most of our cases, we grew around our grandparents, grew up
Yes.
around our grandparents. But a lot of young people now are not growing up around their grandparents. So
right.
it leaves a lot of seniors by themselves.
Yes.
How do we support those that are alone, living alone, or need support from their families?
Well, we would like to provide activities for them to come and do, whether it be dancing, knitting. We also would like to partner with a transportation organization that will help the seniors go from one location to another, because that's what I found when talking with the seniors is that they don't have access to transportation. We want to be a need-all. We want to be a facility that will service all needs, whether you need a repairman to come, and they understand that seniors are on fixed incomes, and the price of things increases, but their income does not. So we want to create an environment that they can come to and be able to get those types of discounts and be able to survive and not feel like they need to go and get a job, because there's very little jobs that will hire seniors. But for the most part, they're not enough for the seniors that are out there. And so
Right.
we want to be that facility for
That's
them.
great. That's great. I know we were talking about the church. What church role would play into our seniors and being involved with their lives and their needs?
Well, you can't do everything by yourself. It takes more than one person to move a car, I've been told. You know, if we can have people that assign themselves to a family here, a family there, a family there, then they can have 100% of the concentration they need, the benefits, instead of the pastor like myself being in 100 different households. I'm spread too thin. So what we try to do is we try to find out what the needs are, see what we can do, and then see what we can get other people to do. Because if we can put all of our resources together, it'll put less toll on a person, but it makes a big impact when it all comes together. You know, so that's what we're trying to do for the seniors. We have a program where it's adult daycare service, where they pick your senior up, like, okay, say for instance, you're a caregiver, but you have a job, you work, you know, you have a life, but you don't want to put your elderly into a nursing home. You don't want to put them in this group, in this certain facility. So you want them at home with you, but you're not able to tend to the needs they need. We have affordable service where if you don't have insurance, it's only $40 a day. They pick them up, they can give them a bath, they can feed them breakfast and lunch, medication management. They can take them to the doctor, take them to church, take them wherever they need to go. They have a facility where they have activities where other people can mingle with other people and do all sorts of things. And the main thing is affordability. People say money isn't everything, but money is the way to move certain things in the natural world. So to make it affordable will also help you as the caregiver and help you get the needs for your elderly that you need.
Right. So I guess we can clearly say that our seniors are in need of a lot of things. What would be
Yes.
the ultimate thing if we can fix a single problem? What would that be in our senior life?
Well, we have a food pantry May 28th of this year. Feeding. After their bills are already paid, they only have $20 to $40 to survive off eating for the whole month. And a lot of times, the younger parents, that is their children, had kids and they're working full time. So now they become the daycare for the younger kids. So a lot of times they're living with a household of 3 or 4 trying to survive off $40 a month. And they can't eat off of that. So what we decided to do is provide a mobile food pantry service where we find these homes that are needed, whether they're veterans or whether they're just seniors. And we provide groceries for them for that month.
Right. Do you partner with other organizations and groups to provide these services?
Yes, sir. Salvation Army, Feed My Sheep, the Catholic Diocese, and several other organizations.
Right. So far, I know we have many success stories. So let's get some of those success stories of your organization and program being able to affect the seniors.
Well, when it comes to the seniors, we had one young lady that she was a grandmother, and her daughter was unfortunately in the drug area and in the drug world, and so she was taking care of her grandkids. And we had reached our quota as far as getting families food, and she came to me and she said, I need food. I really need food and things. Well, Pastor Bey took money out of his pocket and gave it to her and helped her out for that month. We have so many seniors that come that are filling the roles of parents now when they should be enjoying life, and now their kids are bringing their kids to them. And as Pastor Bey said, they only have a certain amount of dollars at the end of the month once the bills are paid and health insurance and the medication is purchased to feed the kids and take on that responsibility. And so this elderly woman, she really appreciated that. She really appreciated that. And she still emails me today wanting to know when is the next food pantry event to ensure that she's on the list this go round.
That's great. That's great. Pastor Bey, you have any success stories so far?
Yes, I have a lady that belonged to another church organization. A lot of times, us as leaders, where we have messed up too, is if somebody's not affiliated with us, we just want to shoo them away. Right. Go do over there. I think I minister and help out more people that's in somebody else's organization than I do my own, because I'm supposed to help any need. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is. And she cried out to me. It was getting ready to start school. And she said she didn't have anything to get her kids some clothes. So immediately the Spirit hit me. And, you know, I don't boast or brag or tell anybody. This is the first time I'm mentioning it. But I went ahead and took it upon myself, and I bought all her kids school clothes. And she just was in tears. And that's my reward, seeing that me being in that situation, used to be homeless, used to be out there on the streets, didn't have nobody to help. And I was able to return the favor, not just to her, but back to God for what He has done for me. And I think in life, if we can all just think about what God has brought us from and not forget what we used to do, and the Vienna sausages we used to eat and the crackers that was a plus. I think if we can go back and just take that remembrance and think that we're giving back to God, that we'll do more for the community and not worry about what they're doing with it, not worrying about the seed that was being used. Because if we're sowing the seed, we don't have to worry about what happens after the fact. Just the fact that we had the heart to give and do is what God looks at the most.
That's great. Yeah. I know my grandparents, a lot of time they want stuff to do. Yes. And a lot of time being of age and maybe even being retired, they want to get involved with doing something that's benefit them, to say that they are active in their community. Is there anything maybe that we can entertain for them being able to find some things active for them to do, maybe answering the phone, maybe doing some smaller things that's in that capability?
I believe the most powerful thing that the elderly could do, even for me, is just tell their story.
Yes.
Just tell us what you've been through. I talked to a war veteran who talked about, you know, being in the mafia and just almost losing his life and having to face the guy he owed all this money to, and he didn't have the money. And he stood boldly and told the guy that, hey, you know, I know where you live too. So what you're going to do? And those are the type of realities that the kids are going to get taught anyway. And we're shedding away the truth and the reality, and we're letting other people by experience teach it. So if they can just tell what they've been through, you know, how they used to sit on the bus and how they got spit on and how they got laughed at and how their most embarrassing moments and how God brought them through, it can really help not only just myself become a better person and not worry about complaining about what I'm going through, but it can help everybody.
That's good. One of the things I know that the government is doing is providing cell phones for those that are on fixed income.
Yes.
Because we know that our seniors may be subject to falls or needed emergency response. How are we helping them on making sure they got proper communication outside of their home or wherever they're living in case of an emergency?
Well, what we can do is, as Pastor Bey said earlier, we can go and check on them. We can ensure that we see what their needs are and meet their needs. So through the cell phone, I think that's a good start for the government, but I would really like for the government to get on the insurance and when it comes to Medicare and Medicaid with the elderly, because they're having to pay a lot more. The cell phone, as I stated earlier, is a good idea, but the insurance is one of the major complaints I hear the seniors talking about, especially with the new laws of the Medicaid and Medicare, with them having to pay more money out of their pockets and that's less money in the household. And with the medication being more expensive and less money coming into the household. So,
What do you think, Pastor, about that Medicaid expansion for our seniors?
I totally agree. I totally agree because, you know, they're not bringing in the money that they should. You know, everything is benefiting from what you made a long time ago. So back then it was less money made, so you have less benefits now. Now we have more money than we've ever made before, and we got more benefits later. But we still have to make sure that everything's affordable. And I think, like I said, if you got a church membership of 150 people, if everybody just donated $1, it makes a big difference. If the communities can come together and seek the needs for each person that is struggling and just peel off a portion, then everybody will rise to a certain level. So we really don't have to depend on the Medicaid, but it can work out.
Thank you so very much. Once again, we thank you for joining us on Joy in Our Town, and join us again.